everybody. Welcome to our podcast. Another beautiful session that we are hosting this morning. We've got beautiful guests. My name is Kotsa Mokoena, silver medalist, Olympic Games. And I'm also joined by the Vice Chairwoman of the Athletes Commission, Bridget Hartley, for canoeing. And we also have a special guest today, Tatiana Schumacher. You guys have been waiting for this. You've been asking for this. You've been begging us to have her. Since the Olympic Games in Tokyo, you've been asking, please host Tatiana. Well, then you have it today. You made it happen. Tatiana, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'm glad I'm making other people happy.
Great. Fantastic. I think, there's just a few things that, the world wants to know, particularly our athletes, they see it on TV, they hear you speak on conversations, on different radio stations. You broke the world record on the 200-meter breaststroke. Now I'm going to ask you this crazy question. You see, how did it feel when you broke the world record? What was your reaction when you saw the time on the scoreboard? You see, I'm not going to ask you all of that. That's the usual question. But I'm going to ask you, how did it feel when you were all alone? When the noise died down and you're back in the hotel room and you're just all by yourself. What was happening in your mind?
Well, first I think that's when they say take in the moment, they really mean it because it goes by so quickly. And nothing in that moment, in the actual moment, like everything was a blur. I can't even really remember what my reaction. So even looking back on TV, it doesn't even feel like me because I didn't remember how I reacted or how I felt right there in the pool. It was just, I was in so much shock. I couldn't believe it. So I think when you get back to the room, you can finally think about it and realize whoa, you just did it. But it's over now, and now obviously it will be with you for the rest of your life. But that moment you can't have again. So if you see yourself, and for me, I had a very ugly cry. I can't be I wish I didn't do that. So I wish I acted like this. But you could just see it was pure shock and emotion. And sometimes you can't really. It's not a scene you can play and pretend okay, when it happens, I'm going to do this, because I never ever expected it to happen. So I think when you get back, it is a bit more of a shock of reality, and to see and to think I wonder what's going to happen now. What is going to happen to my life now after this? So I think then you start thinking about the future.
Have you watched some of those initial interviews?
Well, initial one was with our own president, Cyril. So I was already whoa, okay, this is a bit weird, because I never ever thought I would be talking to him. So I think that was my first, one of the first ones. And also obviously the president of SASCOC and everyone, and the sports minister. So it was all these highly important people in our country. And it's just oh, they want to speak to me. And I was still my initial reaction was why me? I'm one of the athletes here at Olympics. Don't you want to speak to anyone else? And I think that's why it was just it never sunk in, because it was I couldn't even think that I was Olympic gold medalist, never mind a world record holder.
I think also those are great moments, especially having to the president making a call, to speak to you. I think that just shows the importance of what sports can do for South Africa. That was highly inspirational. I mean, I saw that on Twitter and I was whoa, this is something big, and I think those were great moments for you. So what was your thinking?
When?
Firstly, just tell me when you heard that the president wants to speak to you on the phone, you were what now? What is this?
Well, I can tell you the actual story, and it was a really funny story, but I didn't mean it like that. But I remember Bronwyn coming in to our apartments and saying the president wants to speak to me, but I was about to leave because I had a relay that night.
Yeah.
So I was going to go and stop at the dining hall because obviously the morning I just swam that time. So I wasn't even hungry because everything was going on. So I didn't really eat properly. And I was just like, I need to get food before I go to the night session to swim the relay, because there was one girl in our relay. It was her first race. And I mean, I want to prepare at my base to give her the opportunity to like have the best race she had as an Olympian. So for me, I wanted to go to the dining hall, and Bronwyn walked in and she said, Cyril wants to. I was like, Bronwyn, I can't now. I have to go to the relay. And all the girls were like standing in the flat. I was like, well, I don't know what to say. Like, I can't miss my race. I'm here for swimming, so I can't skip it. So I'm so sorry. And then they were all joking, saying, I'm telling Cyril what to do. And I was like, no, that is not at all what I'm trying to do. I was just like, I have to finish the reason why I came to Olympics, and I still had one more race. So I just felt that we could make it at a different time. And luckily he was quite busy at that time. They just wanted to arrange a time. So we did make a time for the next day, which was much better. But yeah, I just remember that first initial hearing about this interview, our first was like, no, I need to go and swim. I can't do this interview right now, or I can't speak to the president. So it was just funny in that moment. But
yeah. Those are actually great moments, beautiful moments. I think in sports, this is just so encouraging. But I actually want to speak a little bit about your coach.
Okay.
A little bit about your coach. I think, Mr. Rocco. For a while, having traveled with the team so many times and so on, I get the feeling, when I stand next to Mr. Rocco and having a chat with him, especially when you guys came back from the games, I get the soldier type of a vibe when I look at it. It's almost like if you're not willing to put in 300% effort, don't even show up in practice. It gives me that type of a vibe. Like, I mean, shout out to your coach. I mean, he's a phenomenal guy. He's done a great job with you, and he continues to do that. What is the most lesson you've learned from your coach?
Well, yeah, I can say for initial starters, I was also intimidated with this guy. He looked like a mini pit bull, and that is kind of his personality. Like, he doesn't beat around the bush. He's very strict, but he's also very soft and loving in some way. And I think that's why we're so lucky to have him, because I think a lot of people think we're just like a group of 5 and he just controls 5. We are Rocco's squad is about 100 swimmers. So I'm just 1 in 100. So, and what I like about it is he treats everyone the same. So for me, that's what I like. I don't like special attention. I don't want people to be him like constantly focus on me and my swimming. I want him to focus on other people so I can do my own thing. But yeah, I think that's like the one obviously good quality. So I think there's so many lessons I've learned from him. So I can't really tell you one specific one, but it's just definitely the biggest one is he always reminds me that I need to make sure that I'm doing my sport because I love it and not because what I want to get out of it. And that is so true, because you can find yourself, if you're not performing and you're not getting those achievements that you set out for yourself, you get discouraged much faster, and much faster you're demotivated. And then you have to reflect and think, am I doing it because I want to win? Am I doing it because I want to break a record? No, I have to think back and think, I'm doing it because I love it. And whatever happens and whatever outcome, I'll be happy. And that's exactly how it is. And he's the one person that always reminds me about that. So I'll definitely say that.
Fantastic. I mean, Bridget will also testify on this one. The coaches are like the pillar of the athletes. We draw so much strength from the coaches, and I think that's one important aspect in terms of performance.
If I can add to that, what's one thing that Rocco has probably done with you to calm your nerves? Maybe in previous competitions. I know when I was in Hungary, I had a Hungarian coach, Nando Almasi, and in my first few years of competing internationally, I was always so nervous. And the one night he actually made me go into the square in Szeged in Hungary to have a glass of wine. And I was like, no, Nando, I'm racing tomorrow. He said, Bridget, you need to calm down, and I'm taking you for a glass of wine. So what has Rocco done if you noticed that you're a little bit anxious?
He definitely, well, for me, he would say the phrase "let go and let God," and he knows that's because it's so important to me. So I think immediately when he says that, it just makes me realize you're right. Like I can't control anything. I have to just let it go in God's hand, and He would do the rest. And yeah, I think it's just something so small like that, just reminding me again, like I have nothing to be nervous about. Like someone greater is in control. So.
Yeah, fantastic. I get the feeling. I think Bridget also gets that feeling that you are quite a strong believer in God.
Yes.
Does that assist you in a daily life?
Definitely. I think mentally as well. I think I use that a lot in my mental preparation. Is obviously not. I wouldn't say I would just use it to strengthen me in that sense. But not only that, I know why. And there's that thing that says purpose drives success, and that is. And I know God has blessed me with this talent, and my purpose is to use this talent, and whether it is using it in winning or whether it is using it in losing, I'm giving everything I can in what He has blessed me with, and that's already given me success. Whether I come last or first, I've already gained so much success out of it. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about faith. I mean, sports. I mean, sports. Sports just in general, especially individual events. You don't know what's going to happen. So you just have to go through with your faith and just believe in the work that you've done. So faith plays quite a huge role. So tell me.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
I think it's because it roots you again in the fact that that you can't have control in certain things. And I think we as humans, we have the desire to win and
Yes.
and that's natural. That is so natural, but it's also God doesn't need us to win to use us, and God doesn't need us to win to be able to testify of His goodness. So I would definitely say it just gives me, I think it's nice, and I'm blessed to have the platform of swimming to be able to speak about Him and speak about what He's done in my life. And that's ultimately what we're here for. It's just to speak of His goodness and getting people to get to know Him and just see how amazing He is. So.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the book of we would turn this into church today. You know what I'm saying? The book of Hebrews speak about faith. That faith is a substance of things hoped for but not yet seen. And I think we as the athletes we go through that all the time. I'm sure Bridget also experienced that. You also experience that every time. So you just, I mean, you don't see the medal yet, but it's there. You know that you're going to get it. You know that you're going to get that performance. So faith is actually the basis of everything. I absolutely agree with you. Now, did you do any other sports besides swimming?
Not now at the moment, but years ago in school I did actually athletics and netball and a little bit of hockey, but I really didn't like it because I'm so scared of the balls. So I would just be avoiding everyone instead of like attacking. So I wasn't the greatest player. But I actually did enjoy athletics, and I always said, like, if someone said if I had a different talent and if I could have been a different type of athlete, what would it be? And I would definitely say like a runner or a hurdle. I actually did hurdles and I really liked it. So I wouldn't say I was fast, but I mean, you don't have to be fast. If you enjoy it, that's good.
Yeah. Bridget, did you do any other sports?
Yes, so I actually only started paddling as a late bloomer. I almost did more than what Tatiana did at school. I did athletics as well. Started playing netball in junior school. Then I did hockey more in high school because then it was more cool to play hockey and my friends played hockey. And then I actually started surfing at the age of 13.
Oh, wow.
The Olympics wasn't in my mind. It was surfing world tour. And then my dad wanted me to go finish school at Pretoria Girls High, and I just started getting a bit better at surfing, and there weren't many good girls yet, but there were quite a lot overseas. So that was why I had this little dream of going to surf the world tour. And then I went to Pretoria Girls High as a boarder, and then I did more sport because I didn't like to be told when to study. So then I played a bit of water polo, and I did gymnastics again.
Wow.
And then only towards the end of high school did I start to paddle because my dad did. And then I played hockey at Tuks because I studied at Tuks. And then only in my second year at Tuks, there was a bunch of guys paddling. And then they encouraged me to start paddling more. And that's when I met my Hungarian coach. So yeah,
wow.
Amazing.
From a background of lots of other sports.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, Bridget, you speak about not having to, when you study when you want to study and do sports when you want to do sports. I've got this question, just jumping on that. Bridget, and also to yourself, Tats, what are your thoughts about athletes staying in school when they're not performing in school, but they're doing record performance in sports? What's your advice to those youngsters?
Tatiana, I'll let you go first.
Thank you, because I was like nervous. I was like, if you say something, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I would definitely say, like, for me, I never really performed in school, so I wouldn't say it makes or breaks you as an athlete anyway. So I only started once I left school. So yeah, and I also think for me, especially, like I always say for the girls in sports, is this, our bodies change, so, and it's so hard to adapt to that. And I was so blessed that I only started the intense training later when I didn't knew my body in a different way. So I would definitely say to not, like, if you were doing well at school, don't give up that easily. You are going to go through a tough patch because we do change. And even men, I mean, I can't speak for a guy's side, but I know they change as well. And you have to get used to the new body that's you're becoming and the person you're becoming. And yeah, so I wouldn't say just maybe school sports. I think if you want to really pursue it and you enjoy it at school, I think you can take it serious in school, but not as serious. I think later in life, there's so much time to build on that time and that career. So for me personally, my advice would be to not just think that if you're doing well in school that you're going to make it, but yeah, that's later on you'll still do well.
Bridget, what was your take on that?
Yeah, thanks, Tatiana. I would be agreeing there because I've done a few courses recently on long-term athlete development. And I've also probably been an athlete for a really long time. And being a late bloomer in the sport that got me an Olympic medal, I definitely agree there. I think that some children just feel there's so much pressure to do well at school if they're good at sport. So their personality type is that they've got to be good at everything. And so they just need to let the pressure come off from school, because there's some successful businessmen who don't have degrees. They might just have a matric. So, and I also, from the courses I've done, it's really good for athletes at a school level to sort of do two sports. You can focus on one, but you should have one other one because you learn quite a lot, and it's just different skills, and you work on different parts of your body. So if you're only focusing on one sport and you're not an individual sport, for example, like swimming, or with me paddling, we can still be in a team sport, you can still be in a relay, but sometimes it would be good to be in a soccer team that you train for even just a term. So I'm also edging along that way, that I think that if you drop out of school completely, there's a chance you can make it, but there's also a chance that by the time you turn 20, you're over sport, and your life changes again, not only your physical body, but your whole life and attitude.
Correct. That's true.
Can I also add something?
Yes.
Like she was saying, Elsa, I also think with the two sport, it is good because it makes your body used to different movements as well, because if you stick to one sport, it gets used to one. Like for me, I could be super fit in swimming, but I can't run 2Ks and I'm dead. So it's crazy how big of a difference it makes. So you want to keep that open, like in a younger age, but then also having to like also kind of focus on your academics and stuff in that time, because sport doesn't take you anywhere forever. It's going to stop somewhere, and it might stop because of an injury, and then you have nothing to back. So for me, it was very important to for myself to get a degree afterwards, like still trying to work in the training. My training was obviously first priority. So if I had to extend my year in my studies, that's okay. No one says you have to finish it in that certain time. But I just think it was for me, having something to fall back on, whether it is a degree or something outside of sports. I think for me that would be important as well. So I think at a young age, like sports is nice because you don't have to go and study for it. You don't have to, it is a bit of hard work, but it's not what gets you through, and you want to at least get through school so that you have something to fall back on, then dropping out because you pursue this career and then it doesn't last. So
yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree on that. I mean, also just to add on that, I seriously believe that athletes are actually hardworking. They've got that ability to do well at any job because of the persistence and the hard work that they have, and actually just believing in something and actually just going through with projects. So I always say that athletes must always put themselves in a position where they are learning something from the sports. While they're doing it professionally, there's a lot to learn that you can actually use those skills in the working environment. So that's very important. But definitely school must get through it 100%. So I'm just thinking right now, with the breaststroke, you have to touch and turn. Is that the moment where you get to look at your competitors, or you just there?
It's the moment you can look at your competitors without maybe disrupting your stroke. So, but it's not good. We all know we have to stay in our own lanes and stuff. That's why it is sometimes hard. I mean, for myself, I can testify to that in the 100. I was just swimming, not my own race, because we obviously knew the world record holder was next to me, and we said, if I at least touch with or just in front of her at the first 50, I know I will beat her because she doesn't have the strong back end that I do. So going in, she was already ahead, and I was just like chasing, not knowing that I was actually going at a faster rate than what I normally go out, because I realized I was a bit behind. And with that obviously disadvantaged me at the end because I didn't have that much energy, and the other girl next to me passed me. So it was definitely something I learned. You always, about it. How many times people say stay in your own lane and stuff, and you can do it for years and years, but there's always that time. You always want to look around. You always want to see where you are in the field, especially when it's the Olympic final and you're in this race. And the 100 meters, never ever thought I would make I thought I would, like, if I was lucky, straight through to the final. Never did I think I was in the middle lane, seeded first. So yeah, I think that was just some small little lesson that I could learn. But yeah, definitely in that 200, I can, if you watch the clip closely of the swimming, we actually turned to the same side. So she turns to my side and I turn to her side.
So you were like,
so in that second,
there.
We literally eyed each other, and we were like, in my head, I was just smiling, and I was like, okay, well, now it's up to the last 50. Whoever has the best last 50, that's the winner, because we turned together. So I obviously had confidence in myself, but where she was at in that race was already abnormal, because normally she dies out like after the first 100. She's really fast. So at the 150, you should have turned before her. So when I saw we were together, I was like, okay, this is going to be fun, because this really comes down to how your training was, like who can give that base last 50, who has it in them to fight all the way. And yeah, I was very lucky that day that I had it in me. So yeah, I'm very grateful. But yeah, there is definitely a moment where we can watch each other.
Absolutely. Bridget, is it the same? Is it same for you as well?
100%. Even though you're sitting in a canoe, the lanes are actually wider, so you probably don't see the people on the far side, and obviously there's no turn. But I always, if I look or I see where I am at the 250 and I stress, I lose my rhythm, because I also have a strong last 250, so that's always been my strength. And if I'm in the mix at the 250, then I'm also confident that I'm going to have a good race. But if I'm out of the mix at the first 250 and I let myself get distracted and look to the side, then the last 250 is a mess. So it's exactly the same. You have to focus on your own race. I count my strokes. I'm assuming swimmers do the same. You don't always get it right with us because we have a headwind or tailwind, so that affects the race time and then obviously your strokes as well. But if I went out too hard in the beginning, I wouldn't be able to finish as strong.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So just getting to the last part of our session, there is a price to pay to succeed. And, for me, I think the price that I paid to succeed in my athletics was the fact that 80% of my youth just passed me. I missed almost everything. I'm talking like hanging out with friends, doing what boys do, going to parties and all those kind of stuff. I think all of that, like, it passed me. That was the price that I had to pay because, I had to stay focused. This is individual sports. I can't be out all night with the friends and expect to do well, knowing that I'm alone on that lane. It depends on me. It doesn't depend on 8 other players that can assist the game to win. So that's the price that I paid. So I just want to know from you, Tets, what's the price that you're paying right now?
Well, I always said like sacrifice is kind of the wrong word, because for me, if you do what you love every single day, it can't really be a sacrifice. So yes, obviously it wasn't nice going to hostel at the age of 14, leaving my parents' house, not having a student life. But for me, it grew me into such a person that I love who I am today, and I want to get to know myself more and grow more. And it does suck to not have that side in life, but there's so much more to life than just the useful side. And you can be useful when you're older as well. No one says you need to act old when you're old. So you can still have a useful spirit. And I'm also very excited for the years after swimming to see what mother I become. Who do I get married to? So it is exciting. And that's why I say, for me, I just never felt like the word sacrifice could ever justify it, because it's never sacrifice if I'm doing what I love every single day. So yeah.
Fantastic. Great. What did you pay? What's the price that you pay?
I love hearing what Tatiana said, because I think that the word sacrifice is there, but if I have to think back to the countries I've visited, the friends I've made that are still my friends today, even if I have a really good friend in Norway who I managed to see last year after competition and I hadn't seen her in 6 years, I feel like the experiences that you've experienced along the way are far better than the restaurants you visited with friends as well. So I've thought about it in both ways, that sometimes it's been tough training overseas when you got to leave your family and friends back home, and I never used to enjoy Sundays when I had a day off overseas because they were just dull. There's only so much you can do by yourself when you're on an international training camp with other people and you only see them at training and then your coach does something different on the weekend. But if I do look back now, and even still, I've traveled to some amazing destinations that I would never have thought of going to if I wasn't an athlete. So I do feel like there's so much that you've experienced that you got to remember or remind ourselves. And I do agree with Tatiana that we don't have to act old when we're older.
Absolutely. We're gonna get to the last part now of the podcast. So I have a few. It's like, choose an answer.
Right.
If you don't choose an answer, you know how to whistle. You gotta whistle. You gotta try to whistle. If you don't choose an answer, okay? So, Mark Spitz or Michael Phelps?
Michael. Oh, you can't ask me that.
Okay, here's a tough one. Michael Phelps or Caleb Dressel?
Ooh. If we're going based on looks, Caleb. I'm joking.
Okay. So who is it? Is it Caleb?
Yeah, let's go for Caleb.
All right. Ray Neethling or Roland Schoolman?
Ooh, don't put me on this spot. This or
Take the whistle. Got a whistle. I got a whistle.
Okay, let's go with rake.
Right. Simone Biles or Serena Williams?
Yo. Yeah, they both actually. Yo, this was like even. I don't know.
I'm trying to get you to whistle. Are we gonna whistle? I'm gonna whistle.
Is whistle? I don't have an answer.
So you gotta whistle. You gotta try to whistle. That's it. I think, Tatiana, thank you so much for joining myself and Bridget.
Thank you.
We, the Ethics Commission, really appreciate the time that you've given today. And we 100% know that the athletes are going to be inspired by this. And we just want to wish you all towards the Commonwealth Games and all the best. Just one more question before you close. Did you change your training strategy after Tokyo for the Commonwealth Games, or you're just gonna go full mode again?
I think you can't really change much in the sense that obviously we all know that swimming is quite a technical sport. So I'm not changing technical things, but I'm working on more technical stuff that I could improve on, because ultimately, like, you can't do much more. I'm also getting older, so which means I cannot handle more.
Come on.
So unfortunately, I wish I had that youthful spirit, but I'll just kill myself when it comes to training. But yeah, I definitely think what works is what works. We won't change completely, but there are small things that you adjust and change to obviously improve that race. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bridget.
Thank you.
Say something? Appreciate it. Bridget, you want to say something?
Oh, I think it's been absolutely amazing. I am looking forward to the feedback from the athletes after listening to some of the questions, because I think that a lot of us go through the same things and we don't all get to talk to each other because we're from different sport codes. Mm-hmm. Even at an Olympics, you don't get to brush shoulders with many people. I remember in Rio, I don't think I even saw Wade, and we were in the same block. Mm-hmm. I competed in the same week and I never even saw him. So I think it's really great to be able to listen to what some of our peers have to say about their experiences. So I think it's been great. Thanks, Tatiana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tatiana. Really appreciate it. And we wish you all the best for the Commonwealth Games, as well as the training. And please send our greetings to Mr. Rocco.
Yes. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.